Another technology that's pretty common looks like this, and that by itself is pretty cool, interesting, and when you stop and think about it, fascinating technology that holds so much information and power. But before credit cards or debit cards were used, what about the technology of paper? Paper is pretty simple, it's an everyday thing for most of us. But when people discovered how to produce flat sheets of paper by pounding tree wood fibers, things changed drastically. Before computers and the internet, all information used to be in those. Yeah, you had to read them to discover what you wanted. You couldn't just type it in, or hey, now you don't even need to type. If you just say or ask a question to your phone, it'll tell you the answer. But paper spread knowledge and understanding in books and newspapers, articles, magazines, scrolls of paper, spread religion, spread math, spread literature. But that's not even close, probably, to the most powerful use of paper, because that's paper. Wow. Paper's pretty powerful. And without this green stuff, this paper, you wouldn't eat, you wouldn't have a home, you wouldn't be able to afford the basic things that you need in life. And I know we have this now, but paper keeps us alive. Now, what about the downside of paper? I bet bank robberies would be down, the number of them, if there was no paper, be no money. I bet home theft or breaking into somebody's house to steal would be less common without money. There's always a good and a bad, but paper has definitely had an impact. Wow, that's pretty cool. Look at that vehicle. And the third technology that I want to include is transportation. And we're not talking about the yellow sports car, but this, the product mover, and in some ways the idea mover, the people mover. Different types of transportation move people typically than this semi. But think about our grocery stores. Very little of what's inside of our grocery stores was raised or grown here. It got here through truck, train, or airplane, or boat sometimes. And without transportation, we wouldn't have those foods we like or in some cases need. A lot of medicines aren't grown or produced here as well. But not just the things that we get or we buy online and they get brought here in a truck or some sort of transportation. But think about the ideas and the beliefs and the culture and traditions that have spread because people also spread. That has really impacted the world. And again, there has to be a downside, right? What about a disease that started somewhere far away, but a boat or a train with infected people got on that and they brought it somewhere new? There'd probably be less car accidents without cars. How about Paleolithic technology? The first and probably most important by far technology that at least allowed humans to become who we are today is this. It's hot. Fire. Fire kept people warm. Fire kept people protected. Fire disinfected water if it was boiled. Fire cooked food. Fire let humans gain a small edge over other species to survive more and more. And it was this technology, the invention of creating this by hitting rocks together that allowed humans to get on the path to who we are now. It's not called the Stone Age on accident. But imagine all the things that could be done with these technologies. Hunting and killing animals, or gathering grasses by cutting them off at the roots with some of these sharper tools, or creating arrows, skinning the hide of animals so that you could turn it into a blanket or a coat. Those technologies also helped people survive during the Paleolithic age. And that, if something is for survival, which none of the modern technologies I explained to you necessarily did, but if we're talking survival, then a technology has a pretty big impact. Now, however, this technology here does show for us a possible downside, where grinding grain or crushing grain with two rocks together leaves those little particles inside the grain that can get in your mouth, and you chew it, and it deteriorates and damages your teeth. Now, compared to survival, that's a pretty minor downside, but it's still a downside. Another Paleolithic technology that has had a big impact, both for them and us, is this. It's called ochre. It's a substance that can be crushed, and it becomes a powder, as you can see here. And when you mix that with animal fat or water, it creates a paste or a paint. And that's where we see the creation of some pretty cool cave art. And this technology allowed them to perhaps express themselves or communicate with other people living at their time. It may be, according to their beliefs, brought them good luck or pleased the spirit world for hunting or being able to find the things they needed to survive. Maybe they did have this big dream of someday people finding what they painted and communicating with us. Why they painted what they painted, we may never know for sure. But that technology has given us a glimpse into their world that without it we never would have gotten. When we consider the impact of technology, you need to first stop and ask yourself, is this white pen of mine keeping me alive? And it's sure not, but it's sure cool to have. And it works with my iPad, which is also sure cool to have. And in a lot of ways, most of our technology nowadays is for convenience and leisure and making our lives, which are already really good, even better. Must be time to go.